Alright, so here's my big bore kit. So remember that this is a big bore kit meant for the CRF 250L. And this one is bored out so that it would turn that 250 into a 283. But I'm using it, I used it on the CB300, and the CB300 is a 286. With this, it becomes a 320, 325 or so, somewhere around in that range. Uh, so I have about 2,000 miles on it, and it basically, I blew it out. So let's look at it. So actually, before we look at it, so the compression rise, I did the math on it a long time ago, and I can't remember how I came up with it. But anyways, it was and if you saw my, a year or two ago, maybe a year ago, I did the CRF CBR 250 piston in the 300, and basically what that does is that raises the compression because these 250 and also the 300, they have the same compression ratio, which was I think it's 10.7, I believe, 10.7. And when I used the 250 piston in the 300, and I did the math, it came out to be about 1.5 more in compression, so 10.7, and it came out to I think around 12.2 or so, somewhere in that range, approximately 12.2. And that piston blew out, and I think I showed you guys that video, and you guys saw how the piston blew out, and that was just a cast piston, so it's kind of weak. So this piston here is a forged piston, and this piston for the setup in the CRF 250, it actually raises the compression ratio to I think around 11.5 or so, somewhere around that range, maybe a little more. So in the 300, this compression ratio will actually be about 13, around 13 or so. So keep that in mind. All right, so let's look at the sleeve first. And I'm not sure if you guys could see it. Let me flash a light in there. So you see that? See how it's all scored? That's the this is the intake side. All right, see that? And a little bit on the exhaust side. Not that much on the exhaust side. It's not so bad on the exhaust side, but definitely the intake side is what the damage is. All right. Let's look at the piston itself. The top of the piston looks okay. I'm not sure what all this crap is. It looks, I wonder if that's just the aluminum that's on there. And you can see some of the carbon buildup on here. Carbon buildup, and some of it's actually, yeah, that's definitely that layer. And I can feel that transition on my fingernail. So let's look at this piston here. So this is the exhaust side. So the exhaust side looks okay, huh? Looks not too bad. You just see a little bit of see that around there, scoring. And I believe all that. And let's actually just look at the intake side. See, it's all scored. I believe even both sides has it. I believe that's from because of the larger bore. And the longer stroke, the angular of the rod makes this thing kind of, as it's going around, it's kind of doing this kind of thing or this kind of thing because of that more angle, because of the stroker crank of the rod. So basically, it does more of this or this, and that's what I believe would happen to this. And this ride that this happened on, it was about a 500-mile ride, maybe a little bit over 500 miles. And this didn't happen until the last 50 miles or so. And on that ride, I rode it hard. Right from the get-go, I was on the freeway for probably about 100 miles. About 100 miles to get up to the mountains. And I was doing, I don't know, 70, 75, 80 the whole way there. I was there. I was riding it. Actually, I didn't ride it as hard, as far as RPM goes, up in the mountains. But for the most part, that ride was basically everything was the engine speed was 7,000 RPM and all the way up to 9,500 RPMs, and this bike rev limits at 10,500 RPMs. So yeah, let's look at the piston pin real fast. You see some let's line this up. See what those marks are. So basically, it's like that. Actually, looking in here as well, I can see a little bit of scoring in here as well. It looks like, man, it looks like it's kind of starved of oil. It seems like almost. When I started this ride, my oil level was full, and by the time I was finished, I got home, my oil level was at the low mark. So it did, it went from full to the low mark. So it did consume oil, but I think part of it just had to do with this here, and it probably lost some oil from that. And right here, I can actually see a little bit. I can also feel right here too. I can feel a little bit of roughness right here. This dark spot right here, I don't feel nothing. But over here, I can definitely feel a little bit of something right there. A little bit of roughness right here, and definitely feel roughness right in here. This part right here is supposed to be where the rod is. There's a little hole there. It's supposed to be for oil to flow in. So let's look at the piston again. Again, this is the forged piston. So yeah. So when this happens, I was actually going up a pass, 1,000-foot pass. I was about halfway up and doing 80, 85 or so. Then all of a sudden, I just felt like a sudden power loss. Like, oh, and I couldn't keep it up. I was 6th gear, wide open throttle. And it was just, the speed was just dropping down, and then I downshift to 5th. Same thing, was just dropping down, and then downshift to 4th. In 4th gear, I was actually able to keep it at 60. And at the time I was in the fast lane. Then I basically pulled over to the slow lane behind the truck, and I stayed behind him for about a minute or so. Then it felt like it actually felt like it got power back, and then I was able to go past the truck and shift to 5th and 6th, but not quite the same power. A little bit power left back, but at the same time, it wasn't quite the same. When I finally got near home and got off the freeway, I actually, because I was wearing, when I travel around, I wear earplugs, so I couldn't quite hear it very well, but I did hear a difference in the engine, and it was louder. It just didn't quite sound right. When I finally got home and I took off the earplugs, and I heard and hearing the engine, it was very noisy. It sounded almost like ball bearings in a tin can shaking around, almost that bad. It sounded kind of like the either the rod was slapping around or the piston was slapping around. So basically, it turned out that the piston was the one that was slapping around. So anyways, I put my stock sleeve and piston back, and it runs fine. I also have an EGK. I left the EGK in there, even though it's a stock size, because the stock is, it runs pretty lean to begin with. So I left that in there, and actually, that's what I recommend. Forget about all this big boy crap, and just go with the EGK. That's my preferred fueling one. Some people use Bazaar, some people use Power Commander. I prefer EGK because EGK is adjustable. It's on the fly adjustable. And those other ones, you can't do that. You want to have any type of adjustment, you have to actually send it back into them and have them reprogram it. And that's going to cost you money, right? It's downtime and it costs you money. You gotta always have to pay for shipping on all that stuff. I don't know if those guys will program your stuff for free or not, but at the very least, you're gonna have to pay for shipping. So I think that the Dobek EGK is the way to go. And with the EGK, man, it runs almost as strong as this big board kit does. I was very surprised. The only difference I mainly feel with the stock with the EGK compared to the big board kit, even with the EGK, is that it's the very top end. Like for example, the last up the last 1,000 or so RPM. Well, hey, let me take a step back and rephrase that. So on the freeway, usually if I'm completely stock without the EGK, stock displacement and stuff without the EGK, when you get to about 75, that's when you feel it kind of. It feels, it could go faster than that, but it feels winded. It's very slow and it feels like it's running out of breath. With the EGK, with stock, it'll get to about 85, then it starts to feel winded. With this, it will get beyond 85, like another 1,000 RPMs beyond, then it starts to then you start feeling it getting weaker. So basically, you're almost at the very top speed before it actually starts to give out. And that's, you look at the power curve on this bike. That's it coincides with the power curve too. The power curve, I believe, stock power curve peaks out at if I remember right, it's at 8,000 or so, or 8,500 RPMs, somewhere around there. And that's about 75, I think, 75 miles an hour. So yeah, so there's the result. So top of the piston looks fine. So this crud here, I think that might be potentially some of this aluminum that rubbed off, because I saw some of the aluminum on the spark plug as well that melted onto the ceramic part of the spark plug. So might be some of that aluminum that melted in the chamber and ended up floating around in the chamber that they did not get blown out. So that's what I'm thinking. Because looking at the head looks fine. Nothing wrong with the head, nothing wrong with the valves. So yeah, so there you go. So yeah, this was fun. This was while I was running and it lasted. It felt great. I really liked it, but apparently I think it's just the compression ratio. I think it's just too high. Maybe if you do this, what you do is maybe shave the top end. Machine down some of this space here, extra material here to reduce the compression ratio. So that would be the thing to do. If you want to do the big pocket, just see how there's where the valve is right here. There's a lot of material that's built up. You can machine some of that off. Machine some of this head off. Machine some of this. Take some of the material off so that it reduces the compression ratio. Then I think it would be maybe it'd be okay. But I'm still still not quite totally convinced because of that bigger bore and also that bigger the longer stroke and that connecting rod angle. It still has a steeper angle because of the longer rod. So that's what causes more of this slapping side to side or rocking side to side motion. So even with the compression ratio lower, I'm not sure if that would still eliminate it or not, just because of that. So yeah, so that's what my recommendation is. I just go with the EGK, stock motor with the EGK, and maybe an exhaust if you want, or not. Stock is pretty lean, especially around 5,000 RPMs. That's where there's like a little bit of a dip in power. That's where you also feel more vibration. Is around 5,000 RPMs. That's about where I think that's where they when they do the emissions test, they do at a set gear, set RPM, set speed basically, and where that's the engine is at that test is that it's basically revving around 5,000 RPM. So they reduce the fueling so that way it's leaner, so it can pass emissions. But at the same time, when you go lean, it actually makes the engine louder, but also it causes more vibration as well. So get the EGK, get rid of all those lean spots, and get it to stoic. That's what I have it at. I have my bike set up at stoic. Set it at 14.7, right? Stoic, or lambda of 1. So that's what's good there, and it runs fantastic. It runs really smooth. There's no funny vibration or anything at all at any rev range. The power is like smooth throughout, even throughout. Vibration is even throughout. So I really like it. So that's my recommendation. It's cheap. It's only I think EGK the list price is only like $250 or 225 or something like that. You know, a little bit over 200, so not too bad. You know, probably the best bang for your buck right there as far as performance goes is getting a EGK. All right, so thanks for watching.